So let's bring you more on this. Ahead of the ANC's elective conference in December, Sisulu said she didn't have a problem with the step-aside rule right now, but it was being applied selectively. And she said the ANC needed to decide what serious claims would lead to someone stepping aside. And the scandal involving the president would call for that rule. To discuss, we're joined by political analyst Mapaseka Muroa. Thank you for being with us, Ms. Muroa. Is it clear to you that she thinks that the president shouldn't be there?
Thank you so much for having me, Francis. Absolutely. I think we need to think about two things. The first thing would be that Mayor Lindiwe Sisulu hopes to run for some sort of office and maybe potentially to be the president of the African National Congress. So if President Matamela is gone, then that means she might have more of a chance to actually step into that role. The second thing is the fact that she is correct in the fact that the step-aside rule has been applied selectively. Now, you'll remember that the Integrity Commission, what they do is investigate these matters, they formulate a report, and then they give that report to the NEC. And the NEC is a body that is factionalized. And so whatever decision that they make might be based on that factionalism, these political games that they play. So in applying the step-aside rule at the end of the day, based on a report that they might receive from the Integrity Commission, it might be that biased. So she does want the president gone, yes, but she's absolutely correct in that the system and the application of this rule is flawed.
And you said this is also about her own leadership ambitions. So therefore, if she wants to get rid of the president, is that about politics or is there real ethics behind this? How damaging is it for a sitting president when someone with the name Sisulu, kind of stalwart royalty, is saying we want a clean government, suggesting that his government is unclean?
Well, the first thing is that you remember that Mayor Batebile Dlamini, the former Minister of Social Development, did say that in the African National Congress, every one of them has small skeletons in the closet. And that's sort of the culture of the African National Congress, is that, you know, the corruption is so endemic in that particular organization. So in terms of ethics, yes, it can be both. It can be that she's playing politics and she wants to get ahead, but it can also be that there are skeletons in the closet that need to be dealt with. So the culture in the African National Congress has also been that there will be these allegations, right? And the Integrity Commission will, of course, investigate. But the NEC, at the end of the day, who has the final say, does not ensure that the recommendations of the Integrity Commission are applied. So that is where the issue is.
Yeah.
These allegations are damaging, and that's why we see this issue with the public protector, with law enforcement, before Parliament, and of course within before the Integrity Commission, where that's actually the first place where it should be dealt with. But the African National Congress is so reluctant to deal not just with the members, the NEC members, but what more a presidential candidate in 2024 and the current sitting president, who is the most powerful person in the country, he practically is untouchable. So if the ANC truly wants to renew itself, they need to look at 2024. And they need to look at the trajectory of how local government has gone and how the African National Congress have actually lost to other political parties through coalitions. And they need to really renew themselves and ensure that the recommendations of the Integrity Commission are implemented.
Yeah. She repeated another allegation around votes being bought basically in 2017, but there she was hiding behind Tokyo Sekwale, saying, well, he said it. But if that's true, it's serious. What do you think the truth of the matter is around the so-called bought claims? It's been used often to accuse the Ramaphosa camp. If anything, maybe both sides were involved, according according to some analysts. How has the ANC dealt with that issue, and how should it be looking at these claims going into another elective conference?
They definitely have not dealt with it effectively. Hence, it's still speculation. You and I can speculate whether or not this is true, but we can't come out and say this is absolutely true because it hasn't been dealt with in terms of law enforcement. No one has laid a charge. Even within the Integrity Commission, this is not something that has been taken seriously. I think, like I said, it's within the culture of the African National Congress that as long as it seems that that particular individual serves the organization, that this person can get the numbers in the polls, then they keep them. Then they leave them alone. Then they don't address those issues that are at play. What's problematic is now the calls are coming from outside. Opposition parties are calling them out for not actually taking these allegations seriously, for not acting on these allegations. But it also looks problematic if they're calling you out from the outside and you haven't dealt with this particular issue on the inside. Another issue would be that if we are then admitting that our members, our cadres that we have deployed to government are corrupt within the political party, what more then in government? So it seems more like a double-edged sword. On one hand, they need to be dealt with, and it looks bad when opposition parties are calling us out. But on the other hand, it's also an issue if we admit that our members are actually corrupt. So it's a double-edged sword that they need to deal with, and they need to look at 2024 and think, how do we deal with this effectively? And the best way is for them not to be reactionary, but to actually be proactive and deal with the issue before the opposition parties can call them out.
All right, let's just look at how extraordinary this is. You have a cabinet minister selected by a president repeating very damaging claims against that president. And if we go back, remember she criticized judges and then the president called her in. Then she suggested that the presidency was misleading the country about that meeting. She's now saying she doesn't even know if she would like to serve under Ramaphosa again. Some saw that previous incident even as a sign that Ramaphosa's hands are tied when it comes to dealing with detractors in his own cabinet. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, the president is seen as weak because of how he deals with issues. He takes his time. You know, he very snail pace. He takes his time when he deals with issues. But also, he doesn't necessarily deal effectively with the people that might seem to be criticizing him. But also, the question would be, are people not allowed to criticize him? Are ministers, people, you know, of his cabinet not allowed to criticize him? Does he then look like an autocrat if he punishes them based on them criticizing him? Would be another question. The other thing would be that, you know, Lindiwe Sisulu, like I said, she absolutely wants to run for office. But I think in how she voices these issues, one then needs to ask, has there been action within how she has served as a minister, you know, one of the longest running ministers in our country? What is her track record? Right? Can this individual actually back up the radicalism that she speaks? You know, particularly with that article that she wrote, you know, speaking to judges. I think that, you know, at the end of the day, we also need to look at where is it coming from and can she back it up? But it's absolutely true that the president has been quite soft. But it also might be that these allegations are not necessarily false.
All right, so this leaves us with so much to chew on. Thank you, political analyst Mapaseka Muroa, for us. And that was following the SABC's interview with NEC member and Minister Lindiwe Sisulu.